right, we are live. It'll be a little bit more of a mellow day because my daughter is sleeping and I don't want to wake her up, but let's grab TikTok. Hey TikTok, how you doing? It's been a long weekend, but I am very glad to be back, and today we're going to have a fun talk about the power of intention and the Rice experiment. Now, some people would say the Rice experiment is controversial because the powers that be don't agree with the results, but to me, all science is up for debate and examination, so I don't think it's any more controversial than, the science that the mainstream puts out. But for those of you not familiar, a few years ago, there was an experiment that really took the internet by storm. It was called the Rice experiment. And essentially what people were doing were taking 3 mason jars of cooked rice, and they would label one jar love, one jar hate, and one jar ignore. And then for the next month, they would try to isolate the variables as best they could, store them all in a similar location, keep room temperature, the same amount of sunlight, control as many variables as you can, or isolate. You really want to isolate the variable of your intention, the effects of your intentions, because that's the purpose of the experiment. So for the next month, what these people would do is they would go up to the love jar and they would whisper very nice things, or they have to whisper, but they would say nice things to the love jar. You're wonderful. I'm so happy you're here. Thank you for being in my life. Then you go to the hate jar and express frustration at it, that it's stupid, that you don't want it around, that this experiment is stupid. And then the ignore jar, you just ignore, which of course creates scientific controls and whatnot as best you can. And what people were finding, and it's amazing seeing the comments on the video that I posted, is a lot of people are reporting that the love jar did a lot better than the hate jar. In fact, the love jar would still be white, beautiful rice, and the hate jar would turn black and moldy. Now, skeptics, of course, would say, well, do you know anything about science? It only takes one speck. You need a perfectly sterile lab. Yeah, we get all that. That's nice. We're talking about doing science experiments at home for kids, and it's fine. So, take your criticisms and just walk out the door. But, so people would do these experiments, and what they were finding was that their intentions would have a positive effect or a negative effect, depending on their intentions, on the rice. And really, it's on the water, because this experiment originated from this guy, Dr. Emoto, out of Japan. And Dr. Emoto had studied the effect of intentions on water for 20 plus years. And I mean, he took these amazing pictures under a microscope of how when he would speak positively to water, it would form these beautiful structures. And when he would speak negatively to the water, it would not do the same thing. And actually, since then, I've come across many different scientists who have documented these same results. And they've taken, you should Google it. It's really amazing. They take all these pictures under microscopes. There was this one doctor, what's her name? She was on an interview with the Pat Life podcast, P.A.T_life. Really amazing results. Now, I'm not here to say the results are valid or invalid. I just find it to be very interesting, and I think it's a really cool experiment that all parents could set up with their children. And so anyway, Dr. Emoto, he did all of these experiments, and he basically found, his conclusion was that your intentions could have a positive effect on water, which is particularly interesting because the majority of our bodies are made up of water. And what is the effect of going through your life with a positive mindset versus going through your life with a negative mindset? I think I'm kind of the embodiment of that, because I have such a positive outlook on the world. People always tell me, thank you. You're the reason I homeschool. You've given me confidence. You give me hope about the future. People have said to me, I made them decide to have children, which is a really cool thing for people to say to you, right? So I go through life with a very positive attitude, and it has positive effects on my life. And I see people who go through life with a negative attitude, and there's no doubt it has a negative effect on their life. Now, the full validity of it, I don't know. But it's a really interesting topic of study for children, and specifically, I just love it as a schooling experiment, and I'll get into why that is. I've done the rice experiment with my kids. It's real. I do it with baking and water I drink. Yeah, so you know what's amazing? So today, the video I posted already has 20,000 views on TikTok, and then my Instagram video is doing well as well. And so many of the comments are, we tried the experiment and it worked, which is really amazing, right? You know, so I mean, I'm going to do the experiment for myself. I'll see the results that I get. And obviously there's a lot of variables, and we'll talk about that. It's why I like this experiment so much for your children, because it's such a great opportunity to talk about variables and isolating variables and what could affect your experiment. I'm 18 and I'm building a homestead and learning about parenting. I love what you do, and my kids will not be indoctrinated. Well, first of all, I think it's great that you're 18 years old and you have a kid of your own. We probably need more people like you, 18 years old, starting a homestead, have a child. That's a mama, so an 18-year-old mom. And it's people like you that make the world a better place. And I hope that you reject all of the keeping up with the Joneses, reject the gross hookup culture. It sounds like you already have done that. And you build a real life that's worth something with a family. And I hope you're 18 now. I hope you have 14 children. And I hope that you raise them on a homestead and don't allow them to be indoctrinated by the system, and teach them what it means to be free and to be critical thinkers, because ultimately that's how you win the future. And everyone wants to talk about political policies and whatnot, or like, should the borders be open? Well, you know, don't complain about being replaced if you don't have any children. And we need more young people getting married young, having lots of children, and building a life that's worth something. And that's the thing. When you have children, life becomes worth something. It gives you purpose. It gives you focus. It gives you reason, intention, right? So that's great, and congratulations on your baby. Hate you. I love your content, and my son is going into kindergarten next year. I think you meant thank you. He's going to kindergarten next year, and I'm considering homeschooling, but I'm a single working mom. Well, I think it's great that just the fact that you're considering that, because it is a big leap, and if you can't do it, don't get discouraged, right? You can still teach things outside of, you know, the preschool kindergarten system, but I would say that you could find co-ops in your area. You could bring in grandparents to help. You could do the schooling outside of school hours, especially at that age, because you really don't need that much formal schooling. So you absolutely can do it. We have single mothers in our community with 4 or 5 children, and they do it. So there is a blueprint, and if you ever need help with anything, you could ask me or the community, because that's why we're here. So I'm just passing through, but I want to say thank you. Much love, and God bless you, and God bless you. And I appreciate these comments, especially on a day like today, where we're talking about the power of intention, because my body is filled with water, right? And if our words really have that type of effect, and we've all experienced it, like some days I go on social media and I'll get all these negative comments, and like every now and then, like, it affects you, where you're like, you know, it's why I started banning so many of these people. I don't care for their negativity. Go somewhere else. Go somewhere and spread your negativity with people that, they say misery loves company. Well, I like to surround myself with positive people like Melissa, and that works well for me in my life. So, not to mention I objectively crush. So, food can be healing and medicine when filled with positive energy. Yeah, it's funny because you see the intention of the rice experiment study, and it really makes you see the value of, wait a second, should I be praying over my food, praying over my drinks, right? If positive intentions have that effect on molecules, right, and you're praying, I pray that this water will nourish my body, that I will find nutrition and health, that this water treats me the way I treat it, right? That we have a positive relationship together. And I know that so a lot of people that sounds silly, but what are the ramifications of these experiments if they turn out to be valid? And I'm not saying they are, I'm not saying they aren't. I'm just saying that it's really interesting. And anyone who doesn't think that it's interesting, it's like, you're just not my cup of tea, okay? Those are probably the same people that would tell me that, you can't get out of debt, you can't move your family across the country, you can't start a homestead, you can't grow your own food, you can't start your own business, you can't build an education system outside of the public schooling system by yourself, right? They would probably tell me I can't do all of those things. You can't publish a book, you can't be an Amazon #1 bestseller, you can't publish 2 books, you can't publish 3 books, 4 books, 5 books, 6 books, 7 books. Can't, right? You don't know what you're talking about, right? That's what they tell me. Well, I just keep canting my way to success, so I can. And, those are the type of people that would say those things to me, and, they're wrong. You can't marry the most beautiful woman in the entire world. Well, I did. And she's fantastic, and I'm so blessed, right? You can't run a business, homestead, and homeschool your children. Watch me. You know why? Because every day I tell myself that I can. And I do. So. Don't have a kid yet, but I'm learning to be a good parent. Well, that's the thing. And, my friend called me. I was on the phone with my friend maybe 2 weeks ago. Good buddy of mine. We spoke for about an hour, and it was nice to catch up. And I think it was for like 2 hours. And, he was wondering if he was being too hard on his son, and we were talking about it. And I'm not against being hard on children, by the way. I think, especially boys, I think discipline and structure, and I think that's important. And raising them to be tough. I'm not raising my son to be a wimp. I think it's okay to be tough on kids. Now, you want to be reasonable and age appropriate, and, but, what I told him was, you are a good parent because you're thinking about these things. And, we're all doing our best, and no one has the exact formula. In fact, there's no exact formula for any child, right? It's unique to every child. And just the fact that you're trying to grow as a parent means you are growing as a parent. And just keep putting in that work, keep studying how to be a better parent and learning from your experience, and you will do great. Yes, I meant thank you. You have helped my approach with me and my younger brother. I think that's awesome. I'm in California, but I'm against the public school system. And like I said, don't put over amounts of pressure on yourself. If you have to send your kids to public school, it's not the end of the world. You start doing some deschooling outside of school and start teaching them entrepreneurship and those type of things. And whenever you're ready, you'll be able to homeschool. So hopefully that's right from the start. I think you can do it. But if you feel overwhelmed and you want to go the other way, it's okay. And I'm the homeschool guy, right? It's okay. It's not a big deal. Happy Monday. Make each day your masterpiece. You are worthy. Have a great day. And thank you. And you're worthy. You have a great day. Rachel Inspires You is her name. I'm guessing that person is such a positive force on the world. Baked a cake while grumpy. It failed. Tried again thinking positive. Best cake ever. Proof. I love it. I appreciate you so much. I've shared your profile to many other parents. And for all of you that share my stuff, it's greatly appreciated because that's how I reach people. The link in your bio isn't working. Yeah, one of the ways I don't know how much you know about me, but the system tends to shut my down a lot. Like, there's a reason why I have so many different profiles, right? Because I've had them nuked. And one of the ways they limit me is by not allowing those links. So it's pretty lame, but it is what it is. Just go to www.classicallearner.com, classicallearner.com. When you are based and red-pilled, that's how the system treats you, so. I want to teach my kids one day about the study of mycology. Mycology, I'm not familiar with the term. One of the best things we could teach children is when they don't know a term, to look up that term. Actually, I'm using that term wrong. When they don't know the definition of a word, to look up the definition. The word term in classical education actually refers to coming to terms. So when you say term in classical education, you would say, someone makes an argument and they use a word. You have to force them to define that word. And then once they define that word, you agree that, okay, this is your definition. This is the definition we will use. So now you've agreed to use a definition. We will both use this definition for this word. We have come to terms with the word, and now our debate can proceed. So when you get into a debate, one of the most important things you can do is force someone to define their words and then come to terms with those words. I actually, I was in the lab last night with the pen and the pad trying to get that damn label off, as Dr. Dre would say, and I wrote out a sketch outline of a curriculum, full curriculum, K through 12, everything, fully sequenced, how to incorporate classical education, Charlotte Mason, Montessori, everything incorporated into it. And this is going to be the start now of making what we do even more formal. And we are going to build an education system unlike anything the world has ever seen. And started that last night. Oh, you can't do that. Just watch. Yeah, it's a nightmare. You are saving children, sir. Well, what I'm doing is, I think more than anything, what I do is I give people confidence. I give mothers and fathers confidence to know that they can do what they already were able to do. And then from there, from the confidence side, I give them guidance and understanding as to what the objectives are to educate your children and resources to be able to do that. And like I said, we're just getting started. So this is, the future is very bright. Melissa, I wanted to call you. I wanted to speak with you about something, by the way. So anyway, we'll talk about that off air. Okay. So anyway, so with the rice experiment, I really love it because we can work on our children with not only the experiment side of it, but isolating the variables. So you have to make a decision. Where are we going to place these 3 jars? And then you could say to them, well, you placed one of them in the window and one of them in the closet. So now isn't the sunshine a variable? So now, how do we know if it's our intentions or the sunshine, right? They're like, oh, yeah. So, All right, well, now you placed one in the refrigerator and one next to the stove. So, like, one of them's going to be hot, the other one's going to be cold. Now, temperature's a variable. We need to isolate the variables, and you work on your children with that. And you want to work on them with how do we place these jars so that we can really isolate the variable of intention of how we treat the jars, right? And by doing that, you're teaching them the scientific method, and you're teaching them to engage with it and think about it. And the truth is, with the rice experiment, it's very difficult to fully isolate the variables and to make sure that everything you did was truly sterile and whatnot. Like, all of those are valid criticisms of the experiment. But these people that are like, don't do the experiment, like, just losers. Like, ugh. Go think for yourself and try it. It's this fun thing you can do, this thinking, you know? This thinking, it's amazing. So, anyway, isolating the variables is a really fun aspect of the experiment. Replication, trying to replicate it, you know, thinking critically about the validity of the experiment. So just there's so many aspects of the rice experiment that I love, and I hope that everyone does it with their kids, and I hope that I'm very eager to chart the results of everyone in the community and, like, how many people will get the results they're looking for. You know? I mean, there's so many layers to it, like intention. Like, if intention really affects the water, does your intention of what you think will happen in the experiment impact the experiment? I don't know. I've always found this experiment interesting, and I've never done it, so I'm going to do it myself and see what I get. Be fun. It'll be fun. There will be fun. All right, guys, I think I'm going to go on that because I have a lot of stuff I want to get done today. Keep doing what you're doing. What you do, it's for the kids, right? So I'm going to call it a stream on that. I just wanted to do a quick talk. I was a little off schedule today, but let's be honest, I was still awake at 3-something in the morning getting the rice experiment ready, and it pushed my whole day back, and yeah. So anyway, I am going to get back to work on some other things, and I hope everyone has an awesome day. You too, Michelle, and stay positive, because no matter what the rice experiment shows and no matter what people show, I can tell you with my own personal experience, a positive mindset goes a very long way toward your quality of life. So I will now drink water. Isn't it apropos? Apropos. I will now drink water for Melissa. And may this water nourish my body. Thanks, Tracy.